All right, people. Right, let me just share this. I take it that's live. Let's see. So, just going to log in. Sorry, just saw a message as I'm logging in here. Right, I'm just going to share this. Ya salam. I don't know, this Facebook app keeps changing, so I can't seem to tell how to get back into. Right, okay, here it is. We have success, people. We have success. Now look at that, look at that. I'm just about to. Right, so and folks, Layla, folks, right. Sorry, I'm just sharing this. Right, okay, almost done. That's done. All right, people. All right. Alaikum assalam. Ahlan wa sahlan, people. Ahlan wa sahlan. Bienvenidos a todos. Right. All right, awesome. Right, so inna alhamdulillah wa kafah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih al-Mustafa وعلى عبادي الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد. See, the lighting in this room is too bright from above. Otherwise, I've got a little sign here to put, to kind of put the, does that, right, now it's not going to really help, so I'll just periodically show it, I guess. So right, so anyway, that's, you know, when you're bored. Ahlan wa sahlan, people. Ahlan wa sahlan bikum. God, what another awesome week. Right, have I done my inna alhamdulillah wa kafah? Can't even remember. Wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulil Mustafa wa ala ibadi alladhina irtada ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فالسلام الله على القوم مرة بعد أخرى. And let us begin with this week's Monday nights, people. Monday nights. Exactly, so I didn't realize, I want to put a sign up here, but I didn't realize how, you know, because the lights are right above me, so it's kind of reflecting it. But I guess what I can do is keep it here, and then every now and then just say, look, people, there's a sign. Can you read that? Can you read that? Let's see if you can make that out. It states it's a reversed camera. If you're about to condemn me for drinking with my left hand, relax. You're not Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. But on the bright side, the good news is you might qualify for disability benefits. Right, so that's the... And what if really I've printed this in reverse just so I can drink with my left hand? Hashtag plot twist. Right, so I'll put that here. So for as soon as anybody who comes on, you know, gets that, the feeling, the kind of the energy of Islam, they get all of a sudden a taqwa attack, and they decide to become the avatar of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz and command the good and forbid the evil, and they decide to begin with me for drinking. I can just raise that up and just remind them to make those applications for those benefits. You never know. Right, so, right, where have we got to, people? What's going on, man? What's going on, people? What's going on? What are the questions saying? But we do get that, don't we? We get this in the Muslim community, the kind of avatar that people feel the spirit. They get a, what I call a taqwa attack. Like, Assalamu alaikum assalam. Look at this. Good idea. All right, so got Maulana Mu'adh Wahid. Ahlan wa sahlan Bik. Ahlan wa sahlan Doc. Ridwan. Ahlan wa sahlan. Right. Let's see a first question right there. Has Jamrock, are the variances in the rituals, the different shariahs of different messengers? I would say that unquestionably that's a good question to start off with. Those of you just tuning in, you know what I'm going to say, people. The litmus test, the kind of test to book score. Shukran, shukran, shukran. May God keep you smiling as well. And all of you, Ameen. Right, so the litmus test, people, is to click share. Come on. I need more people blacklisted like me. So all of you can lose friends. Vilma, wa alaikum assalam. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? All right. Now, let's start off with this question. What a question to start off with. That, first of all, did the previous messengers have different sharia? That is obvious. That is a given, right? Let's just turn to verse number, surah number. Those of you that remember, you know, back in the days, there used to be some scholars. And they used to, I won't name them, but it's no longer, from the UK at the time, no longer in the UK. But I remember I used to have this style. This is in the 90s, the mid to late 90s, late 90s. And you'd go like, as you can see, that brother so-and-so had just disbelieved in Surah Ma'idah, verse number... Oh, God, that used to be hilarious. I remember this sheikh once, so this particular one I'm quoting, he was a proper hardliner, you know, out there. He used to do takfir, call people kafirs, everything, you know, hothead like that. And so he used to declare the non-Muslim, the Muslim governments around the world to be non-Muslim and kafir. So I remember in one lecture, he was speaking and he said, this is, by the way, this is Sheikh Faisal, if you're wondering, right, that I'm speaking about. So he had this video clip where he's playing somebody else and then he's refuting that other person. So in the clip, the person, I forgot who he's refuting in this clip, but in the audio clip, the other sheikh is saying, look, he's speaking about some attack in some, I think, Egypt or in some Muslim country in the time, during the 90s, and where some soldiers were attacked. And he's justifying, that person is saying that, look, why are these soldiers getting attacked? Look, at the end of the day, they're just doing a job. You know, they're just... all they're doing is just taking food home to their family. They're just putting food on a table and a roof over their family's head. They're not part of the regime and so on. And so he plays this. He's got like a cassette. This is back in the days when you had cassettes. He plays the cassette. And then the person says, but why, Sheikh? What? But why? Why? You know, these people. And then he pauses the Sheikh and he goes, as you can see, this person has clearly just disbelieved in Surah Ma'idah, verse number. And then he quotes the verse that Inna Fir'auna wa Hamana wa junudahuma kanu khati'in, that Fir'aun and Haman and their armies were wrongdoers. So he goes, so we say to Allah, okay, yeah Allah, but why their armies? They were just trying to put food on the table. They were just trying to... Ah, the entertainment from the 90s, I tell you. I tell you, we had some serious nutcases around, man. Anyway, coming back to this question. So, were there different shariahs? Of course, Allah says in the Quran that He mentions لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا, that we placed for all of them a different sharia and a different methodology. So, Mu'adh, alaykum as-salam, that's Mu'adh studying out there, people, a local Maliki from Brum, all the way out there in Cairo, memorizing the Quran. Now, so the question is, would have their shariahs been different? Of course they would have. So does that mean their ibadat would have been different? The answer is, in my understanding, absolutely. Okay, they would have been different. Why? Because Allah mentions that there's many prophets, and then He mentions that there's many others. Lam naqsushum alayk. We did not tell you about them. That وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِ, that we did not send a messenger except with the tongue of his people. And وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا, and we would not be testing or ever punishing a people unless they had messengers and a clear message sent to them. So, right now, the question here is that, so messengers or prophets would have been sent all around the world. So in China, Russia, India, Europe, the Americas, they would have been everywhere. It's inconceivable to think that they wouldn't have been in these places. They would have. Right, so now the question is that why would they resemble, why would the rituals be the same as the rituals of Arabia? Like, let's think about it. The way, okay, the Salah became slightly modified along the way, but in essence, its structure was something that was already known in the Middle East. Okay, it was already something known amongst Arabia, things like falling into prostration. Falling into prostration, I would assume, was a universal kind of a method, or not a method, a demonstration of submission. I think even if you're in China or South America or Middle East, falling into prostration was seen as a clear kind of it demonstrated that you are submitting. But let's say things like ruku or tawaf around the Kaaba or things like this. Now, some of these actions may be universal, but others may have been region specific. So the wudu was designed in a particular way that the Arabs would have been also very ideal for their lifestyle. It would have been something that they, like washing the hands, washing the feet, washing the face. I suppose the face and hands you could say, but the feet and things like this, you could tell they weren't, obviously they wouldn't have been, like that wouldn't have been ideal for somebody living in the Antarctic, for example, in their time, all the time washing their feet. Maybe, I don't know how Eskimos live, but presumably they're not always kind of washing their feet and things like this because of the kind of temperatures. So the ibadat as well, although they get structured along the way, but there would be things in them that reflect the kind of cultural harmony of the region in which they are revealed. Right, nice shirt. Maybe this will stop the... Oh, I never thought of that. Imran Khan, I never... Look at that. And here's me. I made this sign to stop them. And all along I didn't realize, well, the shirt's got something on there anyway. People, this is to give good news to those who want to condemn me, that they might be entitled to some kind of disability benefits. Right, so Islamic perspective on male using urinal perspective or prospective, like an Islamic, like a prospect, like a book. Would you care to come to our urinals? Excuse me, could we offer you this prospect? This prospectus we've got right here of would you care to use our urinals? Maybe we can interest you in... No, so the Islamic perspective. The Islamic perspective when using a urinal is, a male urinal, is usually one of, I don't know, what is that, like 120 degrees? Is it like angle? Is It's not entirely bird's eye view, the perspective, but it's still, right, okay, now, that's a good question though, by the way. Right, that's a good question, because a lot of people, this bothers a lot of people, I guess. Those of you just tuned in, click like, people, click share. Angry faces, chill out, yaar, chill out. Abbe, ससुरा काहे को नाराज हो रहे हो? Right, so the thing is, now, I can tell somebody's not been using the urinals well. They must be angry because they've been getting the perspective wrong all this while. Have you been aiming for like a bird's eye view? And then that's been going horribly wrong. Right, okay, let's get back to the question. It is absolutely fine to use a urinal if you need to. I think the issue more so, this comes back to I suppose, okay, one thing, it comes back to three issues here. One, can you urinate while standing up? And I suppose, although that's a very personal question, which I'm sure you can answer better than I can, that can you? So the answer to that very simply is yes, you can. Okay, now I know the Hanafi madhab is not keen on this. I accept that, but Imam Malik speaks very clearly about that. He is asked very clearly in the Mudawwana that what do you say about a person man yabulu qa'iman, who will urinate while standing up. He says he says it's no big deal, but he should be wary that he's not just kind of getting caught in all the there isn't a major splashback. That's his thing. That Imam Malik says that the person should be wary. Okay, so that's the key concern. So the first thing is, is it permissible? Of course it is. So Imam Malik has tackled that question a long time ago, and it's in the Mudawwana. Okay, it's in there in Ahkam, in the Bab of Tahara. Secondly, I mean, I know that the Hanafis are not too keen, but I'm going in line with the school of Medina people, the school of Medina, right? The Don, with all respect to the Hanafiya and school of Kufa, but the school of Medina, it's not a problem. Second issue, okay, it's got three issues to it. Second issue is what Imam Malik did raise his concern about, is the kind of splashback situation. And I suppose that's something you have to be wary of. Right, so as long as Qadi Ismail, who is the legend, the Don of the Malikiya, and really the father figure of the entire sub-school of Iraq in the Maliki madhab that lasted for a few centuries, the person that really set that into motion, I mean it existed before him, was called Qadi Ismail. Okay, Abu Ishaq Ismail al-Qadi, the Don of Iraq, and he is he's a contemporary to people like Imam Bukhari and so on, Yahya ibn Ma'in, and he was a legend in hadith as well and grammar, but also in Maliki fiqh. But his perspectives go on to influence the Iraqi sub-school. Now, his fatwa is very clear on this. He says that, right, Zulaykha saying the Don, these people were Dons, that's what I'm talking about. Now, so, he says that, look, that ma tatayar, he says that ma tatayara min al bowl, that when a person is relieving himself, urinating people, right, that the kind of tiny splash, I don't know if it's splashback, but the kind of like what he says, what flies from it, as in specks of things like this, he says those kind of things are ma'fu an, that yu'fa anha, that these kind of things are not taken into account, okay? So you don't need to feel that, oh my God, was there any tiny specks or things like this? These kind of things are not considered impure at that level within the Sharia. That does not, when I say impure, I mean from a practical perspective. I don't mean if you go around collecting them to turn them into a gallon worth. But I mean at a tiny level. So these things are forgiven. They're from the ma'fu an, the kind of those things that are forgiven. So that's fine. The third aspect is obviously of cleaning yourself after you've been to relieve yourself. So that is a concern with, I suppose, male urinals. Otherwise, it's not an issue. I mean, you could be there standing, you could be there kind of, but it might just be a bit weird, I suppose, for other people. Kind of thinking, what is he doing? Rustam says the devil's face. Alright. You know, some people, only thing is missing are earrings. Tell me about it, Barakat. God, Barakat's got slick taste, I'm telling you. You're doing it, Barakat, you're doing it. See, that's what I'm saying. Earrings. Right now, so, by the way, I hear that these kind of signs really annoy people. So this is why I do them even more. I love winding people up. They go, this is the sign of the devil. I go, hell yeah, don't worry about it. So, whilst we're on that topic of cleanliness after going to the toilet, yes, toilet tissue is fine. Water is better, but otherwise toilet tissue is acceptable too. Okay, right. Is that Coca-Cola? This is Coca-Cola. This is Pepsi Max, people. Mixed. This is a cocktail. This is a cocktail of my special. No. Pepsi Max, Sprite Zero. Look at that. Right, let's take another question, people. Please commend in birthdays. Comment on birthdays. Right, commenting on birthdays, people. Well, happy birthday. Right, now, birthdays, celebrating birthdays is a cultural matter. I repeat, cultural matter. It is nothing to do with religion. It is not haram. The benchmark for proving something haram is up there. Okay? So, it's really difficult to attain this haram thing unless you've got clear-cut evidence. Now, things like birthdays are cultural matters. They're absolutely fine. They are not haram. In some countries, they are made into a big deal. In other countries, they're not. In the West, usually people celebrate birthdays. They kind of look forward to them, get gifts. And then people have individual practices too. But generally, so wishing somebody well, giving them a gift, receiving gifts, having a party, it's all fine. At this stage, somebody may ask that, what do you have to say about the Mawlid? Mawlid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which is the birthday of the Prophet. Now, you see, this is interesting because Mawlid is, it's not that you're celebrating the Prophet's birthday as in for him. It's not like cultural, hey, we're going to throw a party and call you and give you gifts. What Mawlid is about, it's a religious entity. So it's a religious kind of matter. So it's saying, all right, so it's saying that, look, this is a religious event. The problem with that is that religion, in essence, religion, as in the rituals and the worship element of religion. So religion has certain aspects to it. So it has the faith, the belief, it has the kind of worship and rituals, and then it has a social remedy where it's dealing with people's interactions and buying and selling and I don't know, all kinds of other systems, you know, inheritance, marriage, divorce, a kind of judicial system, a kind of system for a penal justice code, all these kind of things, renting, you know, all these. That is a social remedy. It's just trying to remedy the situation that is there using the frame of reference. Those things will always continue to change throughout time. The rituals won't necessarily change. Okay, there may be some leeway in some things based on, you know, you may live in a particular time or part of the world that doesn't have, let's say, sunset, sunrise in accordance with, and you adjust your timetables. But in essence, the rituals are the same. Now, saying that there is a ritual in Islam to celebrate, let's say, the 12th of Rabiul Awwal as a holy day in Islam, this doesn't exist. The Prophet during his lifetime never said that this date is a holy day in Islam. That does not exist in Islam. Now, the question then is, okay, so where do we get this from? Now, and can we do it today? So there's two questions. Where do we get it from and can we do it today? So we got this from approximately about 400 to 500 years after the Prophet. There's a debate, where did it begin? Some people say it began in the Fatimid dynasty with some of the kind of Shia rulers began with it. And some people say it began with one of the Abbasid kings who in kind of like seeing what the Roman Christians were doing, he kind of said we should also celebrate our Prophet's birthday. Either ways, it emerges a few hundred years after the Prophet. People start to celebrate the birthday of the Prophet. It doesn't pick up en masse. It doesn't get kind of like mass transmitted. But what happens is in the centuries that follow, especially with the rise of Tasawwuf, so Tasawwuf starts to rise massively, perhaps maybe like 7th century onwards. So like the 600s going into the 700s, especially after the plagues that kind of really plagued through the Muslim world. Tasawwuf, as a consequence to that, rose massively because people kind of turned to kind of blame themselves for the plague and stuff like this. And it gave a massive rise to mysticism and this kind of spiritual. I mean, I don't like to necessarily call it spiritual because I don't believe that any one group or ideology has a monopoly on spiritualism. But nevertheless, Tasawwuf rises. With the rise of Tasawwuf, with the rise of the kind of Sufi understanding, Mawlid becomes very widespread. In the centuries that follow, it becomes almost ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Then in the last century, maybe in the 20th century, these things started to get challenged throughout the Muslim world again, with a lot of thinkers. People once again emerged. They started to question, saying we need to filter Islam with culture and religion. And so you had a lot of the Mashaykh of Al-Azhar, Rashid Rida, all these great people questioning Muhammad Abdu before him. All these great people questioning that these things are not from Islam. Ibn Ashur, all these other great scholars. Now, that's the history to it. What do we do today? Today, I would say, look, it's entirely up to you. Right, I would say it's entirely up to you. Right, so if as an individual, today these things are ubiquitous. You can't really, it will always stay as far as the current world situation is. I don't know about the future, but the current world situation, Mawlid is here to stay. Right, now that's an accepted kind of fact. Okay, so now the question is, well, what should Muslims do? I would say, look, it's entirely up to them. If they want to partake and participate in celebrating the Prophet's birthday, that's their choice. If they don't want to, that's their choice. I don't think, what I completely condemn is, first of all, I condemn dramatizing this whole thing. Two, I condemn turning this into a matter of faith, where you say things like, if you don't celebrate Mawlid, you must be a Wahhabi, or that is the kind of litmus test of you being a Sunni, is that you celebrate Mawlid. That's nonsense. Imam Malik was amongst the greatest Sunni. I mean, these people, the Salaf, they are the people of Sunnah. They never celebrated Mawlid, ever in their lives. I mean, and Imam Malik was very harsh against innovations. So anybody who's using that is wrong. Likewise, to go around saying, look, to make a big deal declaring anti-Mawlid conferences, I think that's absurd. I saw somewhere a poster, somebody doing a 3-day anti-Mawlid conference. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? Look, stop preaching to the converted, because the people who will listen to you most likely won't be doing Mawlid anyway. And other people likewise don't need to do pro-Mawlid conferences, because the people listening to you are doing Mawlid anyway. So just chill out, people. That's a key point that I would like. And another thing I feel it's necessary to stress, and that is that we need to stop all these kind of, I disagree with, I have no problem with people celebrating, like going to the masjid, doing conferences, no problem with that. But I do have a problem with processions and these kind of, that they go on these kind of walks and marches, Mawlid marches. I am not in favor of things like this. Okay, I disagree strongly with that kind of stuff. It breeds nothing but a negative kind of environment. What are you trying to prove marching through the streets holding green flags? Like, what are you trying to prove? All it does is it creates a rise in Islamophobia. It makes people think that, what are these Muslims doing, like marching up and down? And remember, non-Muslims can't tell. So they can't seem to tell that whether you are ISIS or whether you are Khawarij or Wahhabi or Sufi. They can't tell these things. They just see you as some Muslim, some Arab, some Paki, I don't mean to use the word Paki derogatorily. I'm Pakistani myself, but the point is, they just see you, you're dressed in shalwar kameez, in these thobes, looking like foreigners, hundreds of you marching down a street, carrying flags. I mean, what on earth is this? And they don't like it, just as we wouldn't like it if other people started doing that. Let's say if Hindus started marching on the birthday of Ram through streets of Alam Rock in Birmingham. How would you like it? You wouldn't like it if they started carrying orange flags and, you know, Jai Ram Ki and all these kind of things, and Ram 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 everywhere. How would you like it if they took speakers and started blasting the names of all their gods and stuck up their idols and painted all their houses orange and put all these lights on? You would feel that your atmosphere is getting kind of violated. And this is exactly what's happening to non-Muslims. In the rise of Islamophobia, Muslims need to cut down on all this nonsense. You don't stop feeling so insecure. You know, you don't need to, if you want to celebrate Mawlid, you don't need to enforce it and impose it on the whole world or let them know that you're doing this. Like, relax, just go do it yourself. Go to a masjid, attend a lecture. Alhamdulillah, you've learned something about Islam. Go home, chill out. Or if you want to, I don't know what people, in Mawlids they sing nasheeds, do things like this, praise the Prophet. If you want to do that in your house, alhamdulillah, that's awesome. So Haider Hussein has said, sell out punk Kanjar. Hi, Haider Hussein, it takes one to know one. So now the question is, look, right, so Patrick Patty, okay, blocked. Right now, so the question, once again, is that, look, these things, you need to, and by the way, what I'm saying, just today I saw in Greece, I think it was Greece, I saw it on social media that a procession was going down carrying all these green flags, and then these hooligans that were racist or whatever got together and attacked them and beat them up. And I condemn the hooligans for doing that. That's utterly racist, xenophobic, unacceptable, Islamophobic. And the authorities should have done better to control that situation. But the Muslims, for God's sake, there's something here called a prefrontal cortex. Use it, for God's sake. You know, you live in Greece, which is like one of the most racist and anti-immigration kind of places throughout Europe because of what it faces, of the influx. Don't march around in shalwar kameez carrying green flags and drawing attention to yourself and trying to... Don't do that. Don't do that. It doesn't justify you getting attacked. It doesn't justify, let me make that clear. But don't put yourself in harm's way either. Right? Just be a bit intelligent. Right, okay, now... Right, so Ayaz is saying you are biased not to celebrate Mawlid. Look, I don't celebrate Mawlid. I don't see it as a celebration per se. Okay, now, I have no problem in people doing it, but celebrating, in my understanding, does not mean decorating your streets in the UK with some kind of horrible green colour. The most disgusting green colour, that green has so many shades. And they find the most awkward green, and they light up their houses, and they stick all these flags outside their houses and do processions in streets. That I'm against, and I'm utterly against that business. Yes, you want to go to a masjid, you want to hear about the praise of the Prophet, alhamdulillah, that's beautiful. You do that. You want to call people to your house and teach them about how the Prophet lived, that's amazing. You want to go out and do some charity on that day, outstanding. You want to feed some poor people, spectacular. Alright? But nobody does those things that I'm saying. Everybody just wants to make a point about it. Nobody actually wants to do it. And it's true, the green that they choose is disgusting usually. It's like it's a horrible green, man, for God's sake. At least choose a cool green. Right, okay, let's move on. Next question, people. Next question. I thought Christmas came early as people had Christmas lights up. Shukran, Ahmed Raouf. Shukran. Right, yeah, but look, I'm only saying... we used to have a WhatsApp group along... anyway, I won't go into that. But there was a famous hashtag amongst my friends once. It said, it was like, it's... what was it? I'm just saying what the group's thinking. So that's it. I'm just saying what the group's thinking. So I'm just putting it out there. Right, okay, let's go. I'm not being mean. Alright, so relax. Alright, let's go on to the next question, people. What is the next question? Come on, people. Pakistan 1992 World Cup green. Your hair's on fire. I sure hope not. Right, can you shed some light on Khatm and Nubuwwat issue in Pakistan and the dharnas and the blockades? Muhammad Arfan, what an awesome question. Okay, people, those of you that have noticed, a lot has been happening in Pakistan. Pakistan, huh? Wah. Hi, Pakistan. I tell you, what's been... Okay, I gotta dissect this issue for you people now. I gotta dissect it. Those of you just tuning in, click like, people. Share that live feed. I need to make a kind of like a meme like that Dawah Man meme. I swear, I think that people really went wild on that meme against that Dawah Man. I'm not saying it was fair, but it was funny. So they had one where he's crying, and it said when there's been an earthquake and you run out, and what is it? When there's been an earthquake and you see her run outside without her hijab, and he's crying. Right, so let's go back to Pakistan issue. Look, Pakistan has huge potential. I'm not dissing Pakistan, but I'm just going to dissect the issues on what's going on. Have you ever watched Mujra? Rafi? Nate. What are you inviting me to? Those of you that don't know, what he's talking about is one of those dances where you watch and you go and you throw the the cash at the dancer. Naughty, Rafi trying to misguide me on one of my live shows. Right, so let's stick to the topic, people. Stick to the topic. Look at the distractions here. As soon as I mention Pakistan, Rafi's thinking about Mujras. I mean, this... Yaar, ye connection kya hai? Yaar, ye connection kya hai? What's the... So let's stay on topic, people. Focus. Right, so... now... So, what you have are few things. You got to understand... Okay, we've got to go through some history. We've got to go back in time, people. Decades ago, especially back in the... I believe it began in the 50s, then in the 70s and 80s. There's been several campaigns in Pakistan to highlight that Qadianis are not Muslims. This was in Pakistan, several projects. Now, what's happened is, my understanding is that there was an ordinance called Ordinance 20. I could be wrong, but I believe it was brought in, especially this particular ordinance I'm speaking about, was brought in during General Zia, who had kind of like military rule in Pakistan. So in the 80s, I believe it may have been 1984, but it was in the 80s, he brought in this ordinance which stated that people like the Qadianis and their several factions that they've got, like the Lahori group and other people, cannot identify as Muslims. So this was to... and what it said was that not only can they not identify as Muslims, but they are not allowed to take up Islamic rituals or resemblance. So they can't build a mosque, they can't read the Quran, they can't quote the Quran, they can't do things like this. Now, no, I believe that Zulfiqar Ali Bhutto had declared them non-Muslims, but I think this ordinance that was brought in under General Zia's time called Ordinance 20. Now, I could be, but I mean, the point is, right, that's my understanding, but I'm not an expert on Pakistani kind of law, legal history and things like that. But they brought in an ordinance several decades back, a law that stated that Pakistan, that these people have to be different. And if they do things like quote the Quran or read the Quran, that is imprisonable. And if they do things like build a masjid, that is an imprisonable offense. And if they do things like anything that is clearly that they can't use Islamic honorifics, as far as I'm aware, they can't use things like imam and stuff like this. Now, if they do, these are prisonable offenses. Now, this is my understanding, that this law is in full effect. When the law was brought in, I know it was brought in several decades ago. You can check that up on, you can just go online and Google it. But this has been in effect. I know that they've prisoned several people over violating these kind of things in the past. There's been cases of things like, let's say some Qadianis have been quoting the Quran or reading the Quran, and they've been in trouble for that and stuff like this. Now, what do I first of all think about all of this? Okay, so let's clarify that first. Now, first of all, my understanding is that, look, I disagree wholeheartedly with the Qadiani ideology, just to put that clear. I do not accept, Ghulam Mirza Ahmad Qadiani to be some prophet or things like this of God. And I condemn that approach, as an ideology. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Now, the Qadianis, after Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, the founder of the Qadiani movement or the Ahmadi movement, the second caliph that they had, they refer to them as caliphs. In his book, I believe it's called Aina something, but in his book, and in several of his fatwa, he clearly declared Muslims who do not acknowledge Ghulam Ahmad Mirza to be the kind of messenger, to accept Qadianism or their Ahmadi faith to be upon the haqq, then they are kafir. He writes this, his books are still in print. Okay, so let me just clarify this. Their approach to start off with was utterly wrong. I'm just being objective. It was an extremist approach that they began with. Maybe not today, but the one they began with. So their second caliph declared Muslims to be non-Muslims. He declared Muslims to be kafirs. Now this kind of stuff, obviously it was making a strong reaction amongst Muslims. I mean, they were reacting anyway, but this kind of stuff was really fueling that. So the other Muslims reacted in a similar way, like with much kind of force, like the force that you're placing, the counter reaction is, to the power of 10. Now, so eventually all these efforts came in under the kind of leadership of Zulfiqar Ali Bhutto, that they, through the Supreme Court, declared Qadianis to be non-Muslim and so on and so forth. So although I consider these beliefs to be absolutely, condemn these beliefs and things like this, I do think that maybe in Pakistan, what they did, I know the Pakistanis at the time thought this is a major triumph, a major success, but I actually think it did more harm. Because what it did was it obviously endangered this minority. You see, the Qadianis were not a threat to them, such a small number of people. They are not a threat to the country of Pakistan. The millions and millions of Pakistanis that exist. Qadianis are such a small number. They were never going to be a threat like that. But what happened is, by doing all this and declaring them like this, and they can have no official status and they have to be declared non-Muslim and they have to do this, what it did is it created opportunities for Qadianis to accept to take asylum status in many other countries around the world, like the UK and Europe, and then establish themselves here very successfully, which they did, and they have. So they had a head start, way ahead of the rest of the Muslim world, the kind of Muslim ideologies. Why? Because they were forced. They were forced out of Pakistan. You see, they were not a threat. Honestly, I don't know who. You just have to read the seerah of the Messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ghulam Ahmad Qadian of Qadian is no comparison. It was, your average Muslim was not going to become Qadiani. Muslims, as always, reacted so emotionally to, and I accept that these people were, their initial early founding fathers were extremists. But the thing is, the way the Muslims of Pakistan reacted to them, by declaring them, like they have to declare themselves non-Muslim status, they have to do this by law, it discriminated. Now what that did was it gave them an opportunity to take asylum elsewhere and set themselves up elsewhere. So, okay, so that's a bit of the history to the kind of Qadiani thing. Okay, now it suggested, somebody, Hasib is saying, suggested they were promoted by colonial plans. They may have, I don't know, they may have been encouraged by a lot of the colonial, because they emerge, Ghulam Ahmad emerges, I think he's born in 1834, but he really emerges during the time of the British Raj, after 1857, and one of his key things was the abolition of resistance. So he was against the jihad resistance movement to save India. Now, obviously, things like that are highly suspect, that under the tyranny of the British Raj, why would... I can understand maybe he wouldn't want to participate, but why call to the abolition of the resistance movement? This is why what throws a lot of question marks about him being kind of maybe funded or at least encouraged and supported by the colonial powers there. Now, coming back to, let's fast forward now. So in Pakistan today, you had what's happened over the past 3 weeks. There's been a huge kind of standoff in several parts of Pakistan. Now, let me get several factors clear here. Now, what's happened is apparently there is an oath of office. So when anybody gets into like an official office, I believe that's the presidency, the ministerial kind of offices, they have to take an oath, just as they do in different parts of the world. And part of the oath in Pakistan is that they declare that they will serve the country, they will do this, they won't betray the country, and that God, that they accept God, and they accept Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be the final messenger of God. Now, apparently, from what I'm hearing, that from what is apparent has happened, is somebody decided to omit this condition of this oath. That not the whole oath, but this part of the finality of the Messenger of Allah. Apparently, this is what's happened. So, some person in office has removed that from this oath of office. Now, how this information got leaked to the public, I do not know, but it did. The public obviously were up in arms. Now, you have to understand that these kind of steps cannot be taken without public consent. Now, if you're about to make any kind of change, that is a constitutional change, because this is part of the constitution of Pakistan. Now, I understand you may disagree with this, or you may agree with it, but it is. So it's part of the constitution of Pakistan, and it has been for decades. So if you want to amend, you want to introduce another amendment, then there has to be discussion, it has to be a public discussion, parliamentarian discussion, and it has to be approved or disproved. Now, Ustad Daniel, ahlan wa sahlan, alright, bienvenidos. Right, so the question here is that this happened in Pakistan, it was done secretly, this information got leaked and people kind of flipped. Now, and I absolutely agree that people have the right to object to this. So what the people had said is that we want the resignation of the government immediately said it's been rectified, and I think they said it was some error and it's been rectified and it's back in there. So the public demanded the resignation of the person responsible, which I believe is a fair demand. That if there's been negligence in an office that constitutes misconduct in a public office, that there should be a resignation. I accept that is a valid demand. And just today I hear that the person that they've wanted, his name was Zahid Hamid, and he has resigned. But he wasn't the person that had actually done it. But he was in charge of the Ministry of Law. So it was kind of under him. Now, he had threatened to release the names of the people that had instructed him to do this if he's forced to resign. That's the kind of background, and this is why he wasn't resigning. Amidst all of this, the kind of main crew that had taken, the main party that had taken to rallying the crowds and doing this was called Tehreek-e-Labbaik of Pakistan. This movement is led by somebody called Maulana Khadim Hussain Rizvi. Now, you see, I have problems with Maulana Khadim Hussain Rizvi. Okay. I mean, I probably have some agreements with him. I think it's fair to say that both of us can agree on our disregard to political correctness. because he swears openly. Right, so now, you see, what are my issues, first of all, with Maulana Khadim Hussain Rizvi? I have huge problems with him and his movement, because his movement is, regardless of what people say, it is an extremist movement. Okay, they rose on the back of the killing of Mumtaz Qadri, who killed the governor of Pakistan in broad daylight. Okay, he murdered him by shooting him 27 times. He was his bodyguard. He was allocated by the state to defend him, and he shot him in broad daylight for a belief. That is, and he was convicted by the Pakistani court under terrorism and hanged till death. Okay, I do not support Mumtaz Qadri. I condemn his action. What he did was nothing short of terrorism. You cannot murder people in broad daylight and say you did it for the love of the Prophet. The Prophet did not teach you mass murder. Okay, this is utterly unacceptable. People like Khadim Hussain are key kind of proponents of that ideology. So one of their main slogans that they keep yelling is Gustakh-e Rasool. What is it? Gustakh-e Rasool ki ek saza, sartan se juda, sartan se juda. That the one who blasphemes against the Prophet has only one punishment, that you should cut his head off. You should cut his head off. This is their slogan. That is not the slogan of Islam. Okay, the Messenger of Allah did not teach you this kind of beliefs. This goes against even the Hanafi madhab. It goes against the Brelvi madhab. Right? Which the Hanafi madhab was against any such punishments for blasphemy. First of all, the problem is, right? The problem, okay, sorry, somebody's asked, can I sum up what's going on? Sorry, I was giving a kind of summary of what's been going on in Pakistan over the past 2-3 weeks, and this figure who has been kind of leading these campaigns and rallies and this movement. So this was my issue, that you look, the demand that was being made in Pakistan for resignation was fair and just. However, the methods that were being adopted were wrong, and the rallies that were being done under the ideology was wrong. So this kind of ideology that anybody who blasphemes deserves death is wrong. Okay. Another catastrophe is how they interpret blasphemy. How do they interpret blasphemy? They interpret blasphemy however the hell they want. It's not that somebody got up and said, hey, the Messenger of Allah, and he swore to him. Okay, you know, not that it's okay to kill that person, but that is considered by Islam that why are you blaspheming against the Messenger of Allah? It's their loose interpretations. So for example, Salman Taseer, who was killed by that Mumtaz Qadri in Pakistan, he had said that we need a discussion into the blasphemy laws in Pakistan. This was what he said. We need a discussion into the blasphemy laws because they are being misused in Pakistan. This is what he said. So what did these people say? Oh my God, you've insulted the Messenger of God. How has he insulted the Messenger of God? Oh, he's insulted the Messenger of God. He deserves death. According to them, all Wahhabis deserve death. According to them, all Deobandis deserve death. According to them, all Jamaat-e-Islamis deserve death. Because they are people who blaspheme. This is nonsense. Okay. So this kind of stuff is unacceptable. And it's definitely unacceptable for any Muslims living in the West. Should never allow that themselves to be infected by that kind of an extremist ideology. So this was my issue with people like, and then in Pakistan when they say they demonstrate, what they mean by demonstrations is blockades. You see, a demonstration in the UK is nothing like a demonstration in Pakistan. Right, now Salman Taseer said Islamic law in Pakistan is black law. Well, by its usage, that's what he meant. That its usage today is being used barbarically, which it is, let's face it. Much of the law in Pakistan is being used in barbaric ways. Right, so coming to this point, demonstration in the UK, for example, in Europe, in the US, or in other parts of the world, means people get together, they yell slogans, they demand for justice. That is fine. That is your right to an assembly. That is your democratic human right. I'm not against that. Right. What the issue is, in Pakistan, hartal is not that. Hartal, when people call these kind of like demonstrations, what they do is they impose blockades. So they will block off all the main roads. They will block off all of transport. They will force what they call shutter down. They will impose that there's a shutter down. That's what they call it. All shops must shut. If your shop is open during a hartal, they will attack you. I am not joking. This is a known fact in Pakistan. I have lived in Pakistan for 7 to 8 years of my life. I have witnessed several hartals. It is a lockdown. It highly inconveniences the life that is around there. I'm telling you that you won't be able to go into that part of town. Buses don't run. You can't catch taxis. You can't do anything. God forbid that you need to travel. Everything is jeopardized. Causing this to the public is haram. You cannot do this to the regular public. Right? You cannot do things like oh, I want to protest. So if I say, okay, I want to protest, the M6 will be blocked tomorrow. We're going to lock off, not just the M6, we're going to lock off every motorway from here. You can't, look, you have the right to protest. You don't have the right to inconvenience others. If somebody wants to trade, he has the right to trade. If somebody wants to sell, they need to earn money. They have the right to earn money. Did you know for these 2 weeks, in many places, 2 to 3 weeks, shops were not absolutely shut throughout huge parts of the country. Now, that's people's livelihoods. There was at least a child that died in an ambulance because the ambulance couldn't get through. There have been 6 deaths confirmed because of these rallies. There has been, they've attacked the homes of certain ministers. They've tried to set fire to them. This was the kind of thing that I was condemning. Okay. Now, I'm not in any way saying that the Nawaz Sharif government is correct. They're not. They're idiots. And they don't know how to handle a situation. And they were wrong for doing this the way they did it. And they were wrong for handling this the way they handled it. But it doesn't give a right. It doesn't make the other people right either. You see, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Okay? If you're harming people, you're harming people. Okay? Jo galat hai, wo galat hai, Baba. That's the truth. So if you're wrong, you're wrong. Now, okay. Let's move on, people. Next question. Right, can I pray behind an Ahmadi Qadiani? Where are you going to find a Qadiani to pray behind is the question. There's so few in number. Right, so Mufti Vikings returns this Wednesday. Alright, something to look forward to, people. Right, take out them out. I got no idea what that means. What does it mean when Allah says you help by the weakest amongst you? Women going to Janza. What's Janza? Quickly, please. I don't know what the question is. Quickly. Brother, you are right. Shukran. Hayyakum Allah. Is there any relationship between zodiac signs and Islam? Yeah, there's like a love-hate relationship. And amongst the public, there's like a no strings attached relationship. You see, many Muslims, they don't attach themselves, but they follow zodiac signs. So the question is, look, zodiac signs, people, right? What's this Abdul Haq doing? Right, Abdul Datta, is the internet better? No, I had a senior engineer come out and they said to me today that the Virgin thing is down, it's the area that's impacted and it's going to be repaired in April next year. That's the deadline he's given me, 5 months away. Seriously, that's what he said. We can't do anything else. So I'm not very happy with that. Koyas Mia, shukran wa alaikum assalam, is laughing too. I have him up on the TV. Alright, Asilia is laughing. Well, that's awesome to hear. Laughter, people. As I often say, that a moment spent in laughter is never a moment wasted. Right, it is the cure to anything, I'm telling you. Right, let's see if I'm going to try to bring up some of the previously submitted questions. Let's see where we've got to. But whilst I'm speaking, those of you just tuning in, if you click like, click share the live feed, get it out there, people. What school of thought are you from? From Chuni Awrah. Well, I'm school of thought. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you mean by that, as in the school of fiqh, then I follow the school of Medina, which is the Maliki madhab. But all of these schools are just ways of interpretation. They're all acceptable. I don't belong to any particular sect. Please talk proper attire for praying, specifically wearing skin-tight sportswear. Let me just see. Is it? Oh, damn. Right, okay, I've lost. Okay. Sportswear for praying, assuming all skin is covered. You see, Bilal Siddiqui, there is a difference of opinion among scholars, and there's a difference of opinion within. So generally people will say there is an awrah, a part of the body, they call it an awrah in Arabic, that needs to be covered, and that varies obviously. So they will say for the men it's between the navel and the knee, and for women they will say generally most of the body, except the face, hands, feet, things like that. Now, that is the general understanding. Then they have something called, the Maliki school has something called Awratul Mughalladha and Mukhaffafa, the core awrah and the extended awrah. So the extended awrah for women will include things like the arms and the head, hair, and maybe parts of the back and lower legs and things like this. But what I tend to prefer is the opinion of Qadi Ismail, the Don of the Malikiya people, and the school, the sub-school of the Iraqi sub-school of the Malikiya, who said that covering yourself was a separate mandate to prayer. So it had nothing to do with the intrinsic rulings of prayer. So it doesn't matter how, it does matter. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't impact your salah. Okay, so your salah, technically speaking, even if you were naked, right, which you shouldn't be praying naked, unless, I don't know what you've got going on if you are praying naked, but nevertheless, according to this understanding that Qadi Ismail explains, that the salah is valid, but that ruling has been compromised by you, which is an Islamic ruling. He calls it an Islamic obligation, but it's nothing to do with the salah. Okay. Ayaz Khan says, I don't know you. Who are you? How you know all about Pakistan? Are yaar, hum bhi kuch khabar rakhte hain yaar. So, who are the real puppet masters trying to dismantle? Okay. Virgin was probably naughty, right? Oh, you're talking about Virgin Media. Said my name. Yep, I said your name. Adding to Zodiac Signs, could you clarify gemstones, lucky numbers? Look, people, when Islam came, one of its greatest messages, the greatest angle, was to break people free from the shackles of superstition. Look, the zodiac signs, other superstitions, I don't know, looking into a mirror, a black cat crossing your path, walking under a ladder, the number 13, stroking a frog, I don't know, whatever it is, these things do not impact your future. They do not cause bad or good omens. Okay? These things have zero impact on your lives. Okay? I'll also like to add there's another interesting point. Aigon Azizi said, drink with your right hand. I've got a note for you. Can you see that? It says it's a reversed camera, but on the bright side, you might be eligible for disability benefits. Right.